can I do for you?
I have 2 laptops set up for surveys.
Okay.
I've gotten about 6 people that have taken them, but if you could make that announcement during the social time, if they want to go over and they're set up and ready for them to take them if they want to take them.
Perfect. That's good. Welcome to the fabulous Las Vegas Rotary Club. For this year, our president asked us to be people of action and to be the inspiration. Our club's continuing mission to teach youth to succeed through literacy, education, life skills, and development is the inspiration that President Rassin asks of us, and our numerous local and international projects that we participate in and support are the action that he asks us to take. My name is Jim Cole, and I thank you for the honor and the privilege of being the 96th president of the greatest Rotary Club in the world. As we do at this time, those of you with cell phones and are on Facebook, I invite you to open up your Facebook feed and share our live streaming video. Today, in history, in 1784, 4 counties in western North Carolina declare their independence as the state of Franklin. In 1814, First Lady Dolly Madison saves a portrait of George Washington from being looted by the British troops during the War of 1812. In 1861, Alan Pinkerton, the head of the new Secret Service agency, placed Confederate spy Rose O'Neill under house arrest in Washington, D.C. This one is near and dear to my heart. In 1904, Harold Weed of Canasta, New York, was issued a U.S. patent for grip tread for pneumatic tires, what we call today chains. If you're a skier, you know and love that device. In 1914, the English Expeditionary Force had their first confrontation on European soil since the Battle of Waterloo. In 1926, heartthrob Rudolph Valentino died at the age of 31. In 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union signed a non-aggression pact that lasted very short time. In 1970, Lou Reed played his last show with the Velvet Underground. In 1989, and as punishment for betting on baseball, Pete Rose accepted a deal to permanently be banned from baseball. Finally, NFL kicks off on September 6th, which is 14 days from today. We're all looking forward to it, and I invite you again to wear your NFL gear at Rotary on the 6th. At this time, I'd like to invite up Blake for invocation.
Thank you, President Jim. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests. Please join me in prayer. Almighty God, we thank you for your presence with us at this time and pray your blessing on our food and our coming together. Keep us ever mindful that without you we can do nothing, and with you all things are possible. Help us to put into practice every day, he profits most who serves best. Help us to know the difference between the good and necessary, security and opportunity, faith and futility. Make our faith ever strong. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. This time I'd like to invite Sidra Kane up for a song.
I'd like to do My Country 'Tis of Thee. So, my country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing, land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. As we do every week for our introductions, I ask that you hold your applause until all of our visiting Rotarians and visitors and guests have been introduced. Starting with Mr. Werner, I believe we have an international guest today.
It's indeed a pleasure to visit Patricia Graf from Hong Kong. She was actually born in Alsace-Lothringen, so she's a French speaker.
Dear Rotarians, dear friends, thank you very much for having me today. I'm coming from Hong Kong. The district is 3450. It comprises the Hong Kong, Macau, and Mongolia, and a few cities from China. So you are warmly invited. My club is really looking forward to hear from you and what you are doing in Las Vegas. And I'm really looking forward to see you in Hong Kong next time too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to exchange our flags. This one to take home, and this one for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, other visiting Rotarians, if you could raise your hand, please. Visiting Rotarians.
I'm speaking on behalf of both of us, Dave and Sherry Savage. We are a married couple at La Jolla Sunrise, and we're excited to be here. We come here every month, usually. We try to when we're here in town. And we'd like to say that we are also very passionate about literacy at our club, and we currently have a district matching grant that's taking place for literacy projects in Mozambique. So, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Other visiting Rotarians? Seeing none, guests of Rotarians today.
Good afternoon, Las Vegas Rotary. I'm really happy to introduce a very dear friend of mine and a staff member over at Horizon, Anthony Puckett, joining us for the first time today.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. I would like to welcome Pedro Sosa. He's visiting us for a second time this week, looking at our club.
Welcome. Other guests of Rotarians?
Good afternoon, everyone. Randy Donald. I'm here. I'd like to present my guest, Steve Weglin. He's a local owner of a few businesses here in town. He's a former Rotarian and also a former president of a Rotarian club.
Thank you. Welcome. Other guests of Rotarians?
Oh, we have some guests over here.
And I have guests, too. Sorry we're late. We had to pick up son Matthew from Austin, Texas, so he's visiting us till through the weekend. And also we've got Val Hatley visiting with us again, and his wife Barbara Blitzer also visiting with us again. So help me welcome our guests. Thank you.
I actually have a guest today. Today I brought my best friend of almost 30 years, Jeffrey Pennington. We met when we were 15 volunteering at the United Ways Teen Line, and we've been best friends ever since. And he's interested in volunteering with Breakfast with Books.
Wow, excellent. Welcome, welcome. Any other guests of Rotarians today? At this time, I'd like to introduce the head table. Directly to my right is Jim Hunt. Jim was New Hampshire Student of the Year in 1980 for the National Distributive Education Clubs of America, otherwise known as DECA. He worked with Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran, Jim Lampley for Showtime and HBO in the late 80s as a production assistant for World Championship boxing matches. And he currently serves on site as a risk manager for NASCAR races, NHRA drag races, and IndyCar races at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Sonoma County Raceway, and the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Seated to Jim's right is Rodney Tucker. Rodney Tucker used to be a paramedic. Rodney Tucker is also a Russian spy and is taking a break from influencing our elections. And I guess you might as well come on up here and be on live streaming because you're about to be outed from your witness protection program. Seated to Rodney's right is Mike Ballard. Mike had the honor of caddying for Walter Payton at the NFL Players Association golf tournament at the Desert Inn when he's in high school. Mike is a direct descendant and ninth grandson of Colonel Thomas Ballard, Speaker of the Virginia House of Burgesses in 1680 and 82. So that's quite a lineage. And to top that off, Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard are Mike's seventh cousins. Please join me in a round of applause for all of our visitors and the head table. At this time, Jamie, could you take the microphone to Bob Werner?
Thank you, President Jim. A lot of you have asked how my wife was doing, so rather than repeating myself, she had back surgery on the 9th. She went for 10 days in ICU, and now she's in rehab trying to learn how to walk again. And her target day is September 3rd, that she might be able to get out of Sunrise, and we hope that's going to work. It's a tough road. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, and we're sorry for her. I'd like to thank the Rotarians who helped us today. Setup was Jamie Goldsmith and Carrie Groh. The greeters are Doug Grant and Chan Lamb. Tickets were John and Jemmy and Marie Walsh. The invocation was Blake Myers. The song leader was Cedric Kane. The photographer is Jim Tucker, and teardown is Michael Williams and Jamel Surratt. Jamie, could you take the microphone to Jim Tucker, please?
Hey, members, anybody in business that needs an ad in the wheel, you can help support the printing and our foundation. 3 weeks, so somebody else will have to get on that project.
Thank you. And as you know from the email you received today from our Executive Secretary, Sean Nord, it's maybe 5 minutes at the most, and we are looking for your input as to how the direction the club's going to go in the future. So please tell us what you want to do, and then we will form activities based on the survey. Thank you. This time we're going to break for some fellowship. welcome back. We have cards that are going around for both Francesca and for Randy. So if you haven't received the cards yet for either of those two, would you please raise your hand so we know where to take the cards to? At this time, Jamie, could you take? Oh, yes. You probably don't know what happened to Randy. He fell and dislocated one of his ankles, so he is now homebound and he had some surgery on his ankle, and he's working on getting mobility and walking back. And for those of you who weren't here last week, unfortunately, Francesca's husband died unexpectedly, and so she's working through that. They've let us know that they're going to have a private service, and she greatly appreciates the phone calls and the emails and the texts. And she doesn't need anything at this time, but if she needs something, she will clearly not hesitate to ask. But she's super appreciative of all the attention and the good wishes that everybody's been giving her. So thank you for that. Can you take the microphone to Deb Granda, please?
I guess it's a long walk over here.
Thank you, President Jim. I have two announcements today. I wanted to talk about the Shakespeare Festival. We don't have too many people signed up, only about 6 or 7 members. So I really encourage you to think about taking the weekend off and coming up there. It's a lot cooler. The weather's fabulous. The shows are great. I've already bought my tickets. I have a dinner reservation for Friday night at an Italian restaurant. And, it would be everyone pay your own, so if you're interested in joining us for dinner. And then on Saturday afternoon, in between the matinee and the evening show, I'm hosting a cocktail party at a little house that I rented. So sign up in the Green Book. It is September 7th and 8th. And, there'll be people staying till Sunday also, I'm sure. But September 7th and 8th, Shakespeare Festival in Cedar City. I'll make sure that an email goes out with the house address. It's right near the theater, so that should be pretty convenient for the party on Saturday. The other thing I want to talk about is the big raffle. We really, really, really need everybody to get involved in this. So far, we've sold 87 tickets for a total of $8,700. We have 300 tickets to sell, and we have 5 weeks left. So I encourage everybody to commit and sell at least 3 tickets each. We have quite a few of us who are well over that. Randy Frost, myself, Jackie, Karen, Tom Thomas, we're all 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tickets. So we really would like everyone to commit to at least 3, and then we can reach our goal of 300. We only have 5 more weeks. The drawing is September 27th, so 5 more weeks to get all these tickets sold. And we will be getting another press release out this week. And Janice and I will be at the desk after the meeting if you need to come and get tickets from us. And any other questions, check with Janice or me. Thank you.
And please do support the raffle. This is outside money to come help us put on our programs to benefit the things that we think are important. And so it's a great way to get money from outside of the club in. And I know from the survey that that's certainly something that you are asking for, is outside money. So please help us, and it's a great way to practice your elevator speech. Jamie, can you take the microphone to yourself?
Oh, hey, what's up?
Wine to water.
Okay.
You wanted 22nd? Yes? Maybe
okay,
not.
so 22nd? Yep. Okay, no, sorry. I can't do
6. My apologies. The 6th.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to do Wine to Water on October 6th. We are doing a sake tasting at Guikeku with Japanese barbecue. We have a wine expert or a sake expert that will be in attendance, and we will. If you guys can make it 8 a.m.
on this flyer. Perhaps you can put those dates in your phone to know when it's going to come up. If you can come, if everyone could come to just one meeting this year, it would be a great, great service to the children. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thanks for putting that together for us. For those of you that are football fanatics like I am, we have our fantasy football draft this Saturday. If you haven't signed up already, this is your last chance in the Green Book. So teams are $250 a piece. You may split that with your friends and family, and we welcome anybody who wants to participate. So please look in the Green Book if you're wanting to do fantasy football this year. Half of those proceeds will go to the foundation. Thank you. Would you take the microphone over to Randy Donald, please?
Thank you. Well, 9 years ago, when Karen Wisenhunt was the president of this club, she started a little fellowship get-together. It's called the Cigar Fellowship. And we're going to be celebrating, and some people are really excited about it. We're going to be celebrating the 17th Cigar Fellowship this October 5th at the home of Tom and Jane Crow. So I want to make sure that everyone knows about that, and you're welcome to bring a guest to this event. We've raised, I don't know the amount of money we raised, but it's been quite a bit, and we charge $10 a person to get in. We have a raffle ticket. We share cigars. For people that don't like to smoke, you can be out of the cigar smoke, and a cocktail or two, maybe some hors d'oeuvres. It's just a great evening of fellowship, and it brought a lot of money into our foundation. So please put that on your calendar, October 5th at Tom and Jane Crow's.
It's a great time, and it's a great way to introduce people to the club. So I definitely support Randy's suggestion. You bring a friend and pocket full of cigars. Would you take the microphone to Lucy, please?
Sorry. Okay, so everybody should have one of these on their table, or at least a can. So we're just kicking off the canned food drive for this year. So we have the cans up here. If you have any loose change on you, cool, put some in there. And then we also have the big cans out there by where the name tags go. So if on your way out, if you want to take one of those and just put them, in your front office or wherever mostly it gets seen, just to collect money for that. And then so more information on the actual event to come.
Thank you. Will you take the microphone to Kim, please? Kim Yoni.
The other person. Are you doing a mock shot already? Good afternoon, everybody. Just a friendly reminder, this afternoon, 5:30 p.m., downtown Fremont, we are going to be celebrating those graduating from the 25 Club and also having a social. It's going to be over at Bangor Brewing Company. The way to find it, just look for the Heart Attack Grill. And it's a place right next door. They have excellent selection of Las Vegas-made beer. They make their own beer. And it's a great atmosphere. There are a bunch of places to eat around there. So I hope to see everybody join us there later. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. Okay, brings us to our raffle drawing. Today is $2,043 plus today's take. And the winning ticket to draw for the Joker is 509-4361. 4361. Oh. Come on up. Thank you. Here's your $10. And there we go. We retired the 9 of clubs today. Okay, for the Lowry's Bucks, 509-4615. 4615. Congratulations. Yes. Excellent. Okay, we're blessed. We have two speakers who have come today to us on short notice, and I thank them again for taking the time to put together a great presentation on a really interesting topic. They're both longtime members of the club, so I don't think they need a lengthy introduction. I believe Mike is the first speaker, but both Mike, no, Roddy's going to speak first. Roddy Tucker, then, please. Welcome.
Show of hands, who's got a phone on them? Hands up if you got a phone on you. Put it away. Thank you. Yeah, I know you were going to take a picture. I've heard that line before. Well, a little clarification. The picture of me here, very clearly, high school graduation picture from 2006. Just wanted to clarify that. That was your 16th year, right? Yeah, 16th year at that high school. Took me a while to get out of there. So Mike and I are going to kind of tag team today. We're going to speak about a subject that nobody knows anything about. So whatever we say sounds really informative, and that's simply because it's a facet of the new tax law that was just recently passed. Now, a lot of people that elect our congressional representatives to office anticipate, thank you, that there's going to be some good come out of their election. And a lot of these guys go to office and they have good intents and they pass a lot of laws and they're always trying to help their constituents. And occasionally some laws get passed that actually have some real positive, tangible benefits to people that otherwise wouldn't be exposed to it. And we think at this point lives in this country. So I'm going to briefly outline the parameters of this part of the Tax Act, and it's called the Qualified Opportunity Zone Fund. Now, to speak to that, how many here, by a show of hands, that put your devices away already, know what a 1031 exchange is? Okay, for the balance of you, I'll give you a 30-second sketch. You buy something that you've invested in, and you sell it a year and a day after you bought it, and you have some appreciation of some sort that occurs. So consequently, you have a capital gain as recognized by the IRS, and you need to pay some taxes on that. But should you decide that you don't want to do that right now and you'd like to defer that opportunity to pay your taxes, you can take the proceeds from that sale and through a very clean process say, I'm going to take this and instead of taking it home and paying you the taxes, I'm going to go put it back into something else again. And you can perpetually do this forever. And at some point in time, you sell it, and then at that point, you have to go ahead and pay the taxes. Well, this Opportunity Zone Fund has a lot of similarities to the 1031 tax exchange. So when I sell an asset in a 1031, I have to take all the proceeds and move them into a like property or asset. So stocks to stocks, real estate to real estate, you get the picture. Where this differs is I sell an asset and I only take the appreciation that I incurred during that holding period instead of all the proceeds. So the portion I originally put in is called a basis. The appreciation is called a gain. In the Opportunity Zone Fund, you're going to take the gain and you're going to go put it into something else. Now, you've got a lot of latitude that we've never had in 1031 exchanges. It doesn't have to be like for like. I can come out of an Apple stock and invest in a warehouse, as an example. The money that was the basis of my sale, I have to set it aside for a moment because I'm going to need it later, and we'll go over that real quickly. But I've taken that lift, that appreciation, I've invested it in a new property. The defining factor is these zones. And how they were established is the code says you have to go and find certain census tracts that meet certain economic criteria in every state. So they very quickly had to form these committees in every state. The committees had to pick a whole bunch of census tracts throughout, in this case, Nevada, and then give them to the governor, who's the chief executive of our state. he had an opportunity then to choose which ones he wanted, and he was limited based upon our demographics. So California has over 800 census tracts that they could have called opportunity zones. Nevada has 60, to give you an example. So the governor gets this long list, and then he starts getting influenced by people calling him saying, yeah, there's some over there. And so you see, when you look at the maps that we're going to show you, there's some obvious places where you're like, well, how did that qualify? Like everything to the north side of I-15 out by Nellis is an opportunity zone, which is called Apex. Well, of course it qualified. Nobody out there lives there, so it doesn't have any income, so it must be blighted.
And we're going to go through these maps in about
Yeah, we'll
10
pop
minutes.
you through them.
Yeah.
So to wrap up the four corners of this, you put money into an opportunity zone, and then you have an opportunity to let it combination about us, so you can kind of appreciate the asset for teens on the original. Big area surrounding.
Forbes, in the Wall Street Journal, in various other publications, and all kinds of tax publications and that type of thing, and Bloomberg. It's really going to change neighborhoods. And they do it, there's three key points that we're going to talk about over the next 20 minutes. One are the zones, one are the funds, because the investments have to go through funds. You can have a single purpose fund for a development, and then the investments that are made in there. So why did they do this instead of just modify the 1031 language? And the biggest reason is, many of you know, I've been involved in angel investing and some venture capital for years. And what I learned was 37% of venture capital occurs in Silicon Valley. You know, 4 states get 80% of all the venture capital money. The states that have been doing well, or the counties that have been doing well, are doing great. But there's plenty of counties that are doing worse and worse. So right now, 1 in 6 Americans live in economically distressed communities. And the dark, I'm colorblind. I presume this is red, but I'm not sure. Okay, so the red areas are the most distressed areas, and the lighter colors are the less distressed till you get to the blue or purple. Thank you. So, but look at this graph. From the year 2000 to 2015, in the worst counties, unemployment has grown at a greater pace, right? Business establishments have gone up by 13% in the prosperous zip codes, and they've gone down by 6% in the non-prosperous zip codes, or the distressed zip codes. So a certain group of people were trying to create legislation. How do we change the economics in the poor neighborhoods? How do we bring capital to those poor neighborhoods? And that's what this program's all about. And so we're a capital-rich country. We just haven't been deploying it equally. And so this is trying to give a significant incentive to make investments in these lower-income areas. And it does it by giving kind of the juicy tax incentives that we'll talk a little more on, but the Rod discussed. The zones were nominated by the governors, as he said. They were approved by the U.S. Treasury. They were in place they will be in place for the next 10 years, and you can't change it anymore. The politicking went on. Nevada was one of 4 states that didn't turn in their zones on time. We had a 30-day extension, and we were still one of 4 states that didn't turn their zones in on time. And then somebody politicked pretty well, and some land and Sparks got in the new zones, and so now it's in. So they can't change without an act of Congress. So it's not an easy thing to change. So
one of the things you can notice is that this act causes you to have to physically improve a new location. It makes no sense, based on the way that's written, to go out and purchase an existing building because your initial investment has to be at least that again. So if you buy a $40 million apartment project, you're not going to spend another $40 million improving it. But if you could build a $40 million apartment project in an area that was on the edge, or maybe in a gentrifying area that wouldn't otherwise be that attractive, but the money that you're getting is looking at these tax incentives. They spend $3 or $4 million on the land, another $35 million on the buildings. They've qualified. This is new product, new assets, and new businesses. It's really different than anything we've seen before.
So here's the areas in Vegas. Here are the areas in Las Vegas that qualify in downtown area. So you can see.
So if you can't really tell from afar, the stadium's about right here. Duh.
Actually, no, that's Sahara.
Wait, no, right here.
No,
right?
no.
Isn't that Las
the
Vegas?
Fashion Show Mall.
Oh, you're right. It's down here off the
Down
map,
here.
which
That's
he'll
the
show
next
you on
slide.
another map.
Here, we'll
Here.
do that.
Oh,
there's the
there
stadium
you
right
go.
there.
So they kind of swept up. There's McCarran to give you a point of reference. Not that you can build on the runway, but it sounds nice.
Right. But one thing, I had a talk with Tom Thomas. His land, McCarran Center, was included, right? But the whole park is developed. So if he sells the park, and I'm just going to pick a round number for $100 million, whoever buys it has to put another $100 million into the park. That's not feasible for that park.
And there's no more land left. So it's kind of, there's little tiny patches, but you look at this and you have to scratch your head and go, why did that make it in when there's no opportunity to physically improve it?
Right? But you can see up above on this particular map by UNLV, 3/4 around UNLV qualifies as from a tax point of view. Was the Moulin zone? Office, I was furious, and they said the city nominated 10th on their list, and the city said, we didn't prioritize the list, we just gave you a list. You asked for a list of 10 areas, and it happened to be the 10th one on the list. And it never came out in the public hearings that we had, and I was out of town when they had the public hearings. So that was a shame, but like the downtown North Las Vegas core qualifies, around the airport qualifies, those types of things. Okay? Rod and I both think this one's pretty interesting. The Speedway is halfway in and halfway out of the opportunity zone there off of I-15. But imagine, part of the tax benefit is holding the land for 10 years. If a group wanted to buy north of the Speedway and build another industrial park, that is a perfect opportunity zone project.
Likewise, you might wonder, how is it that Nels is in when you're saying, well, that belongs to the federal government. How could you possibly invest in that? The Treasury hasn't promulgated all the rules. So we're up here winging round numbers, and there's a million questions left, and they haven't finished up. But it does say, thus far, that you could do a long-term ground lease. So if the federal government, say the Department of Defense, was willing to lease you a piece of ground so that you could build a facility for a private contractor that was going to, say, maybe service some of the fleet, that would qualify.
Build a child care within the airport or within the base. Build housing within the base. Those types of things would qualify. Here's Pahrump. About a third of the city and a lot of the rural area around it qualifies. Cedar City, a lot of us go there. We talked about the Shakespeare Festival. You know, around college cities, college towns qualify. So if you had the incentive to do incubators or student housing or that type of thing, that type of would qualify. So let's go more specifically into what are these incentives. And Rodney talked about them. And Rodney, I'll let you start and kind of
All
go
right.
through
So
these again.
the first thing is you're going to put this money that you acquired from the sale of an asset, be it stock, exotic automobiles, or an apartment complex. And you can go put it into a new business. As an example, you could go into one of these opportunity zones, build a building for a tenant, buy all their CNC machinery, if that's what they did, as the furniture and fixtures as part of your capital improvements. You could then depreciate all those assets in 1 year under the current tax code, take the building, lease it to them for 10 years and a day with a sell lease back, and that qualifies. Now you've got a piece of the business and the fixturization and the physical real estate as well. And that kind of homogenization's never occurred before. That's one example. During that period you're holding it, there's two little kickers they give you. And it's a little complicated, so I'm going to try and really simplify it. The money you put in, you owe capital gains on. In 2026, you got to write a check. If you hold it for 5 years before you sell it, they take your basis and they lift it to 110% of what you put in there. So they give you a little 10% kicker. 7.5 years or 7 years, they give you another 5. So in essence, if you had $1 million you put in and you were in the 23% capital gains and you owed $230,000 when you started, at the end of the 7 years, you'd now only have a $200,000 obligation. I'm rounding, so bear with me. And that kind of takes care of that initial investment. The balance of it, hold it for the full 10 years and a day, and you're going to experience no capital gains tax when you dissolve it. So if you sold it in 10 years and a day for, say, 20% plus range, you saved the better part of $1 million from going in.
And I think another one of the benefits that's great is, again, that he had done 4 for $10 million, but your basis is $2 million. You can pull the basis. We see as a result of the otherwise incentivized to sell an asset, suddenly looking at their assets going, I'm going to get out of this and go oriented guy. I'm going to speak to that. I think you're going to have a lot of people that own industrial parks, office buildings, and apartments who are going to want to move their product out, and they're suddenly going to find that they're competing with all these other people that want to get out at the same time, and it's going to become a buyer's market. Prices are going to go soft during this period. One of the challenges that's faced is when you have a sale, you only have 180 days to get your money into a fund. So even if you self-declared, that's not a problem, but if, say, Matthew was raising a fund for $200 million, and I wanted to get over there, I'd have to, as soon as I close my sale, I'd have 180 days to give him the money. That's really not that difficult. To redeploy the initial investment, and then he's got 30 months after that to take and substantially improve whatever assets they bought. So you're going to see a softening of sales prices when everybody's trying to get out of stuff so they can get into this. You're secondly going to see people making bad decisions because of the urgency that's been put on them based this 180 days and another 180. It's going to get old assets. I'm not going to sell one so I can go buy another. This begs the question where the new money is going to come from. And right now in the United States, the only real new money that's got billions of dollars is the cannabis industry. And this may be their savior that they're going to find a buyer from, because those guys are sitting on ordinary income, no other opportunities. I think they're going to be your buyers. Yeah. Some other unique things about this type of investment is it's any long-term gain can go into this. So it doesn't just have to be real estate. So let's say you are an investor in a tech company that grew wildly, or Apple stock, or some other company whose stock has done great. You can sell publicly traded stock and invest and defer the gain on it in an opportunity zone investment. It can be an art sale. It can be private stock. Let's say you have a business and you choose to sell. Now would be a good time to sell. Deploy that capital into this new fund, or new type of fund, or create your own fund, or that type of thing. Okay, it can be even the gain on a depreciated asset. So let's say you've had this huge piece of equipment in your facility for years, and it's time to buy a new one, but you can sell it for $500,000. The gain can be put in an opportunity fund and defer the tax on that. So it's not just real estate. Okay? And Sharon, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, maybe. So, and the other great thing is it doesn't have to be a direct investment. No accommodator, nobody has to get in the middle. So you can have sold something on June 30, and it's still in the bank, and you can reinvest it, or maybe you spend it, but then you got money some other place. You have 180 days to put it into an opportunity zone fund.
You could self-declare. So it could be you by yourself and say, I've created a fund, and I'm the sole partner in the fund. And that's perfectly fine. And all you're doing at your tax return that year is giving notice with this form that has yet to be finished that says, I'm one of those.
Okay.
In addition, real quickly, you've got a number of money managers around the country that are out running around raising money for this Opportunity Zone Fund. And these are sophisticated groups of money managers. But
many are, and many aren't.
And, well, there's the other part. There's lots of people raising money with this as their flag. And I've talked to, I don't know how many. I just started cold calling these funds I could find, claiming they had Opportunity Zone funds. And with very few exceptions, and the exceptions were kind of family offices that were taking their own assets, selling, creating a fund, and meaning they're cradle to grave, they're internally able to create all the deal flow. These other funds, they don't have any deal flow. They're sitting on this money. They've got 180 days. Even sophisticated developers are like, I didn't know about this. And it's not like you can just take an apartment project you have and say, I know I can make it work over here and suddenly move it over here and get it to work. So there's a deal flow problem. There's a lot of money that's going to make some bad decisions chasing bad deals, trying to get their money deployed.
Okay. So I think we talked about this. The issue is if you have some land in an opportunity zone and you've had it since before the start of this year, it wouldn't qualify. You would have to sell it to a new entity, and you'd have to only own less than 20% of the new. It can't be a related party transaction. So you'd have to own less than 20% of the development entity. And
so an example of that would be if you had a piece of property over by the stadium, and Mike owned it and had owned it for several years, and I wanted to build some apartments on it, I could go to Mike, agree to purchase the land from him, and we'll suppose for this purposes that the sale proceeds from the land is going to be less than 20% of the finished product. He could take that proceeds, come back into the fund, and see his money deployed back in the fund that way, even though he owned it prior to December 31st of 2017.
Right. Okay. So that's one criteria. The land has to be purchased after December 31st. Number two, it has to go through a fund, but you could create your own fund, and it's very simple, and there's some guidelines for it. Work with your accountant, and they'll help you make sure it qualifies. It has to be original use, so you have to build something new, right? So, new shopping center, new apartments. It could be a new dental office. It wouldn't be unusual for a dentist to potentially invest his own money through his own opportunity fund to build a new location, or a medical group next to each of the hospitals that are in the opportunity zones, and there's several, and then he could sell those 10 years later tax-free. No capital gains on the building.
Likewise, you could be a solar roof company, and you could build your little distribution and main headquarters within one of these zones, but all your sales could be outside of that. So it's not that you have to restrict your physical business activity to the confines of that opportunity zone.
Rodney, I think it has to be 60% of the installation, where the people work, have to be in the opportunity zones. 60% of the employees? 60% of the employees have to work the majority of their time in the opportunity zones to qualify. Okay? So, fund certification process, we've kind of talked about this already. One of the interesting things, because of the tax benefits of the deferral, the discounting, and then there's no tax on the new development, it could add 3% to your annual return. Okay? It can add this is our last slide too, or our second to last slide, Jim, just so you know. So there's people building apartments in LA with the goal of getting a 4 cap or a 6 cap, right? Especially in the multifamily space today, apartments are being sold at very high multiples off of the cash flow. And so if they're expecting a 6% return, adding 3% to the tax benefit is increasing the return by 50%. So imagine, the types of investments, look, if you're taking money that you've earned, you don't want to lose it, right? So you want to invest in a fund that's going to invest with A-credit tenants or with reliable developers that have a track record for consistent returns. You don't want to just invest in some guy's first apartment complex that he's ever built, right? Because you could lose it all. You don't want that to happen. What you're just trying to do is juice the return with the tax benefit. And that's what this law does. And it's crazy how much capital is coming off the sideline. There's an estimated $6 trillion in gains from $2 trillion from 1031s that have been deferred over the last 40 years, and $4 trillion in gains off publicly traded stocks that could potentially come into funds like this. And I've talked with different groups that have a $500 million fund or a $100 million fund or a $20 million fund that they're looking to place in developments, looking to place in business. Aware of. So we're here to answer questions now. We've got thing I can tell you is I know there's real money out there looking to invest in projects in Vegas, in Phoenix, in Salt Lake City, and it's going to change these neighborhoods because you can't just buy a dilapidated apartment complex behind, let's say, Valley View and Sahara for $40,000 a door and put $10,000 into it. Yeah, if you buy it for $40,000 a door, you've got to improve it by $40,000 a door. You're going to see a lot of these communities have great metamorphosis. It's really going to change because money is coming into these neighborhoods.
Arguably, some of these older by our standards, projects he's talking about, it may make sense for him to scrape it and start over, which could be something that you would never see happen under any other auspices than this kind of curious thing that's been passed that allows us to actually be incentivized to build new stuff in new areas or in old areas that needed new stuff. There are going to be some real curious outcomes over the next 10 years as this money gets redeployed.
Yeah. Any questions? Randy, or go ahead. Right. So I think I've seen a lot of low-income projects do extremely well in Las Vegas, and I've seen some that haven't. Part of it is you've got to build the right project at the right time. You know, they just built an apartment complex on Valley View and Spring Mountain called Lotus. I drive by it all the time. Many people see it. That project was built by a quality developer who develops all the time, and they're doing quite well, right? Who would have thought a Class A property in that neighborhood in Chinatown would have done as well as it's doing? And it's doing great. And if they would have waited a year and done it through an Opportunity Zone fund, all the gain would have been tax-free. So a development like that typically costs, let's say, $30 million to build. When it's stabilized, it's probably worth $35 or $36 million. And then it appreciates 6 to 7% a year for the next 7 or 8 years. Okay, so a $30 million construction cost could be worth $45 million when it's done. And that $15 million in gain is tax-free if it's done in an opportunity zone. Well, actually, right here. I don't know the answer to that question.
He wanted to know if the depreciation on the assets is recaptured as well during that 10-year period. We don't know. There's so many rules that Treasury hasn't yet promulgated that there's more questions than answers.
I don't believe there's a change in how depreciation is treated on that. Right here, next. Go ahead.
If you're not a millionaire, can you put your funds into a mutually pooled fund and benefit from that?
Most of the Opportunity Zone funds that are being raised by money managers are just that. It's a consortium of smaller interests.
Yeah.
So you sold a little Apple stock for $100,000. You threw it in with 50 other people at the same amount, and suddenly you own an apartment project.
Right. So I'm seeing, I've got a PPM in my briefcase right there where it's a $50,000 minimum to do it. And there's some that are probably even less. But, you know, it's going to be a $200 million fund. They've got some commitments for $5 and $10 million, but their minimum's 50. So there's different folks doing different things. Right here?
When people realize that their investments has really grown, and so do the people that charge us with taxes, what's to stop them from changing the tax laws? I mean, two examples. When Obama became president, the first thing he did was he increased the tax rate on anybody that takes money out of their IRA. Also, Obamacare. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. I mean, what's to stop things like this happening?
So what I understand, number one, after we're seeing kind of the money that's being considered for these funds, we do believe it's going to change in 2 years. We believe that the funds that have started under this set of rules will qualify through the end of the fund in 2028. But the funds that are, you know, we believe in 2 years it's probably going to change because it's going to be more lucrative than people thought.
So just to clarify, you've got till 2026 to jump into one of these, and then 10 years and a day after that, you're done. So the whole thing sunsets. Whether or not it'll get amended,
it is not, from what I can tell. Was Indian Springs in one of the zones? I do not believe it is. I know a developer who's trying to do something there, and it keeps frustrating me. It's right outside the new market tax credits, right outside the Opportunity Zone areas.
any other questions? Anybody need to be awakened? Thank you so much for putting up with the improvisation.
Thank you both very much for presenting this super fascinating to me topic. As you know from being members of the club, we give the Share What You Can award to each of you, and this is we will share a meal with a needy veteran in your name. Thank you so much for coming today. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. Not yet. I will. So, 2 seconds. As we leave here today, let us go forth into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to that which is good. Render to no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the afflicted. Honor all persons. Love and serve each other, rejoicing in the fellowship of Rotary. Be people of action. Be the inspiration. Meeting adjourned.